Hello and welcome to episode number 44 of the Hafey Digital Podcast, a show for creators, makers, and doers, where my goal is to help you make to the max. My name is Ryan Hafey, and in this episode, we're going to be reviewing a cheap alternative to the popular wireless lavalier system, the Rode Wireless Go. Will it be any good? Let's find out together. Let's go. Wrong one. Sorry, we can have two different sized crowds in the house today. Hello, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Wherever you happen to be watching or listening, be sure to hit that subscribe button and also follow me on social media on at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on TikTok too, spending a lot of time on TikTok lately these days. So if you're on TikTok, go check me out over there also. I don't post a ton. I'm still more of a lurker, just trying to figure out the platform. But it's grown on me for sure. So anyway, beverage this week. Nothing special, just going with the old trusty Spindrift, doing a blackberry flavor. As you noticed, by the way, there was no sound of the week this week. I just didn't do one. You know what? It's really hard to come up with a new sound each week. I started it thinking this is going to be something that I can do pretty easily, and maybe I'll do it later on when I think of more interesting things to do. But for now, sound of the week is, we're just going to leave it as is, and we'll come back to it if we're feeling adventurous, I guess. So with that said, we're just going to jump right into the main topic because we actually have quite a bit to talk about with regards to this. So like I said, I'm going to be reviewing it's a wireless lavalier system from a company in China called Pixel. And while they didn't outright say this, it's clearly a competitor to the popular Rode Wireless Go. Now, I should say that I don't have a Rode Wireless Go for comparison, so you'll have to take that into consideration. We're just going to be doing all of our analysis based on the product alone. You can kind of make your own assessments based on what the audio sounds like, whether or not you would prefer that over the Wireless Go. But just for full disclosure, this company, Pixel, did reach out to me to see if I would want to receive the product for free and review it, to which I said, yeah, sure, why not? So they did pay to send it to me, but I'm not being paid. They didn't pay me. They just paid for the item to get to me. So I got it for free, but I'm not being paid by them. And none of the opinions, they don't get to see this beforehand. All these opinions are my own, not influenced by them sending a free item. I do appreciate them sending it to me, but these are going to be all my thoughts, and they may not all be positive either. So just be ready for that. I don't want to give away too much. But anyway, so the product is called, and I'm not a fan of the product, or the name at least. It's called the Pixel Voical Air wireless microphone system. So as you can kind of see the units here, and by the way, let's go back. I'll show you what the Rode Wireless Go looks like just in case. So this is the Rode Wireless Go. As you can see, the system is very similar. Let's go here. So the units look very similar, and you'll find out that they do a lot of the same things if you are familiar with at all with the Rode Rode Wireless Go. So this is the product. Inside is this case, and opening the cases is all the stuff. Everything's kind of packed in its own little separate baggies and things like that, but this is the case that it all comes in. Inside, you get the two little units here. One is a transmitter, one is a receiver. Great, fantastic. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. There we go. So you have and it doesn't outright say on them which is which. You have to look at the top, which is kind of my first gripe. But on this one, you can see you have an input for the microphone. That is an indication that that's where your lav mic goes. It also has a built-in microphone there, and we'll get into some of the features here shortly. On the receiver, it's got a headphone jack for monitoring, and then this is an output, which you would send into your recorder or your camera or even your phone. So those are the two units. This case is pretty nice. It feels good quality. The only thing is these don't really fit in here super well. They kind of like, they don't really fit snug. They just kind of sit there and like are either, I don't know. It's kind of a, it's a weird thing, but it works. Included in the package, you get this mount for your hot shoe on your camera. You get you a lav mic with the 3.5mm input. You get a phone cable. So if you have one of those ancient phones that still has a 3.5mm jack in it, you can use this cable to connect the receiver to your phone. You also get an assortment of charging cables. You actually get two. Obviously, you need one for each unit. So they give you two charging cables there. This is the camera cable. So this will go from the receiver into your camera, mirrorless, DSLR, whatever you're using. And then this last thing is, this will send, this will allow you to plug directly into, like if you have an iPhone, it's got a lightning cable adapter there. So you can plug the receiver directly into an iPhone that doesn't have a headphone jack. So there you go. That's the packaging. Go back to this view for a little bit. So what I did was I did a series of tests where plugged the units into my phone and did a few different recordings there, and then a few into my Sony a7 III, just so you could hear the difference if there is any. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. Now, yeah, let me see. Let me make sure. By the way, pricing on this currently is, last I checked, when I purchased it, it was $139, and it had a $20 coupon that you could apply and get it for $119. Just checked before I started this episode, and it's actually $119 now, and you can get an additional $20 off with the coupon, so you can get it for $99 if you wanted to. For comparison, the Rode Wireless Go, again the more notable competitor, is selling currently at $199. Also, it appears it's back ordered. Couldn't find it on Amazon, and on B&H it was back ordered. There's a link to both of these, by the way, in the description below if you want to check either of them out, but just kind of letting you know. And let's see. So let's go over some of the different features of the Pixel here. For example, it is a UHF wireless. It has a UHF wireless transmitter. It's got a built-in microphone. So as you saw on this unit here, there is an input for a microphone for a lavalier, and then this little piece right next to it, that is a built-in microphone. So just like the Rode Wireless Go, if you wanted to clip this onto your shirt or something like that, you could do that, or you could connect it to a lavalier mic and kind of hide it a little bit better. Let's see, what else? What else did I write down? So you can use it with a smartphone. You can use it with an audio recorder, an external recorder of some kind, your DSLR or mirrorless camera, which I kind of already talked about. You can monitor using, again, also as explained earlier, using the headphone jack on the receiver there. And there's 36 channels, so you can go between all the different, there's 36 channels to choose from, so if you're getting static and interference and things like that, you can switch among those. So let's turn these on, and I'll show you a couple things here. So, and to turn these on, you get a little power button on the side. You just hold that power button for a couple seconds, and then they pop up. All right, let's see, can I come in any tighter? Good. All right, so here's the thing. On the bottom of these, you have plus and minus buttons. Those are, depending on if you have the transmitter, then it's going to be the volume, the recording volume. If you have the receiver, then the plus and minus is going to change the monitoring volume in your headphones. All right, so this one is the transmitter. So if you turn any of these up, it's going to increase your volume. And it goes from 0 to 15 decibels here. Now the settings button, you would think that you would maybe be able to go in and adjust, I don't know, maybe they've got like a high pass filter of some kind or some other different audio, kind of built-in audio features that you could choose from. No, if you press the settings button, all you get to do is adjust the channel. That's all that the settings button does. There are no options for high pass filters or any of those other things. And then as far as monitoring, my experience with monitoring using the headphone jack here is that you can't hear anything. It's practically unusable unless you're in a very quiet environment, which is probably not likely in a lot of cases. But I had better results monitoring from the headphone jack in the mirrorless camera. So that's another knock on this. It's just monitoring capabilities is just not really not usable. So when you're using this device, as I mentioned, you can either clip it right here onto your shirt, which again is another feature that's offered by the Rode Wireless Go, but it's obviously a little unsightly. Who wants to walk around with this big thing sitting on your shirt? Alternatively, again, it does come with this lavalier mic, which you can conceal in some way, shape, or form. But the thing is too, I tried another wireless mic and didn't really work too well for me. Granted, it was a wireless mic that had a jack like this, but it was designed for iPhone. That might have been the issue with it, but yeah, and that's the only other 3.5 millimeter lav mic that I have, and it just didn't work for whatever reason. What else? I mean, that's really, I mean, these things, the setup and everything, and these things are super easy to use. I will give them that. Construction wise, they're very light, which I guess is a plus. Feel a little bit cheap, very plasticky for sure. They don't have, for the mic here, the mic input, there's no threading. So, you know, if you accidentally get it snagged on something, it's going to pull that lav mic right out of the transmitter. Something to keep in mind. But let's talk about audio quality. So as a control, I've got some different clips lined up here. So I'm going to go through all of these. First off, this is going to be me just talking into the iPhone with no lav mic, no Rode system, nothing, just me talking directly into the iPhone. Let's see what that sounds like.
All right, so this is just a quick test of the audio directly into camera. No lav mic, no lav system setup. This is just what the audio sounds like from my mouth to the phone's microphone, just for basis of comparison.
All right, so now you have an idea of what that's going to sound like. So now this next test is going to be with the using the transmitter as the lav mic itself, with no lav mic plugged into it, just using the built-in microphone, and this is what that sounds like. All right, we got another audio test here. This one, I have the transmitter clipped directly to my shirt here. We're using the built-in microphone. The receiver is plugged into my phone there, so the audio that you're hearing is coming from this little device. This is currently turned all the way up. I'm going to turn it down as I continue talking, just so you can kind of hear how the audio changes as you go down in volume. All the way up to 15, which is the highest volume amount on the transmitter, so you can hear the difference there. How are we sounding? Good? Yeah? No? Okay. All right, so that was test with the built-in mic. Now we're going to do one final test from the iPhone, and that is with the lav mic plugged in. Now listen to the difference in audio quality here. Okay, in this test, we have the lav mic plugged into the transmitter, which is going to the receiver, which is plugged into the phone. So the audio that you are hearing is coming from this lav mic now. I'm going to toggle through the different volume ranges again on the receiver. Again, 15 decibels is the highest volume range. We're down to 3, 2, 1. And now we will go back up the volume range so you can hear how the audio changes. And we are back up to 15 decibels. Okay, so that's with the lav mic, and you know, if you ask me, it doesn't sound very good. It's almost as if there's like some kind of weird noise gate that's applied right off the bat. I mean, you don't get a ton of ambient noise, which, I mean, you're going to get that with the lav mic anyway because it sits so close to your body, kind of acts like a sound damper. But in this case, it almost sounds like it's trying to do some noise reduction in real time. and you can kind of tell by, I don't know, there's like a way that you start, like the attack where you start to hear my voice. It almost sounds like it's cut off at the beginning, which is sort of an indication of maybe some kind of weird compression being added or applied. I could be wrong. It's just kind of what it sounds like, but it also just doesn't sound like a very high quality sound. It sounds very lo-fi, and I'm not a huge fan of it. But you know, I actually think the built-in mic sounds a little bit better. The built-in mic sounded like kind of like that traditional lav mic sound. It was a little boxy, but I feel like you could have fixed that audio a little bit better than using it with the lav mic. But let's move on and see how this thing behaves with some of the preamps on, say, like my Sony a7 III. So this is a test with me just talking into the onboard microphone on the Sony a7 III by itself. Okay, this is a quick test of audio, what it sounds like directly into camera. I'm not using the lav mic system at all. I'm talking directly into the onboard microphone on the camera, which I'm sure is not going to sound very good, but just to give you, again, a basis of comparison, let's get the lav mic set up. All right, that was a7 III in-body camera or in-body microphone. Now we're going to go to the a test with the built-in microphone using the Pixel Voical system. Here we go. In this test, we are using the lav mic built-in microphone, which is going to the receiver, which is plugged into the camera. So you are hearing the built-in audio on this unit here. Just like before, I'm going to go through the different volume ranges on the transmitter here so you can get an idea of what the sound or how it sounds as I go through the different ranges. Now on our way back up, you can get an idea of how this sounds through all the different decibel ranges. We should be back up to 15 by now, how we sounded. Now for comparison, let's go back real quick and see how it sounds like on the iPhone with the built-in microphone. All right, we got another audio test here. This one, I have the transmitter clipped. Okay. In this test, we are using the lav mic built-in microphone, which is going to the receiver. I actually think it sounds a little bit more clear going into the a7 III. I did toggle the volume to where I was peaking around, I don't know, maybe -10, -8 in that range. So it does sound a little bit better, or a little bit brighter and louder on the a7 III than on the iPhone. Just something to keep in mind. By the way, I did test, and actually I think I touched on this. I'm going to save that because I think I touched on this in this next test. But anyway, this next test here is the a7 III with the Voical Air system using the lav mic. Here we go. All right, this time we are using the lav mic, which is plugged into the transmitter, which is sending a signal to the receiver, which is going into the Sony a7 III here. So you are hearing the audio coming from this lav mic here. Should also mention that the onboard audio is set to, I believe, 8 or 9. I did try to boost the audio, the in-camera audio, and then turn down the audio on this, and it just wasn't usable. There was just so much distortion and just static that I didn't even include that in the tests. But we're going to go through the different decibel ranges here once again, just to give you an idea how that sounds. Starting from 15, working our way down, going to 0, 3, 2, 1. And now we are working our way back up from 0 to 15 decibels, so you can get an idea of how the sound changes as you go through the different decibel levels. All right, and that was the last. So let's compare that one to the iPhone with the lav mic. All right, this time we are using the lav mic, which is plugged into the transmitter, which is... All right, and iPhone. Okay, in this test, we have the lav mic plugged into the transmitter, which is going to... If you ask me, it sounds very similar, just a little bit quieter on the iPhone. And to go back to my statement about that noise reduction, you can kind of hear, as I'm talking, when I'm talking, you hear some kind of static. That gives me, that makes me think that that's what's happening. There's just some sort of noise reduction that you don't have any control over, which it just doesn't sound good. I'm not a huge fan of it. But yeah, as I mentioned, really the only, I tried, so in all these tests, the transmitter was set to the max decibel range of 15 decibels, and I tried reducing that and then bumping up the levels, say on the a7 III, and it just introduced more and more static and loud noise, and it just was to it was gross. It sounded distorted, didn't sound good at all. So I didn't even include that in the test, as I mentioned. But again, just for one final comparison, this is a sample of the Sony a7 III while being used with the Deity D4 shotgun microphone. Here you go. All right, as one final test here, we've got the Deity D4 Duo, the new dual recording shotgun microphone that I recently purchased, just as a better quality option so you can compare the sound of a shotgun mic on camera to the sound of the wireless transmitter system. How does it sound? Is it better? Is it worse? You be the judge. So, yeah, that's obviously, I mean, it's a shotgun microphone. It's a completely different type of microphone. It gives you a little bit more airy system, or airy sound. It's going to pick up the echoes of the room a little bit more because you don't have the sound dampening characteristics of a lav mic close to your body. But I thought the sound quality of the Deity at least sounded good. You know, or at least sounded passable, versus, again, we'll compare that. All right, as one final test here, we've got the Deity D4 Duo with the lav mic. All right, this time we are using the lav mic, which is plugged into the transmitter. And I think you can hear the difference. It just sounds muffled. It doesn't sound, it's not great. I don't know. That's kind of my takeaway from this system. And because these are so simple, which is a plus for these, you know, it didn't take long to be able to figure out whether or not these things are going to be an acceptable form of, you know, acceptable wireless lav system for me. And the thing with wireless lav systems, this is actually the second different wireless lav system that I've received. Hold on. I don't know. I had another one around here somewhere. I think it's somewhere under my desk. But I was sent another wireless lav system that I talked about briefly on a previous show, and really the results on that one were kind of the same. It was a different system. It was kind of the traditional wireless lav system. But there's, you know, I don't know, wireless lav systems, it's like one of those things where I feel like I want one, but I don't really have a need for one. So if someone's going to reach out and be like, hey, you want to try this one out? I'll be like, yeah, sure, why not? Because if it ends up being a decent quality and if I can incorporate it into my work, I will. But my takeaway from this, and let me go make sure I've kind of touched on everything here. So some of the conclusions, yeah, the built-in microphone, in my opinion, sounds better. Again, let's go back in and do a very quick back and forth comparison between the built-in microphone and the lav microphone here. In this test, we are using the lav mic, built-in microphone and lav. All right, this time we are using the lav mic, which is plugged in. Definitely the built-in microphone sounds better. The only problem with that is, again, in order to use the built-in microphone, you have to clip it like this, and then you're stuck with this big eyesore of a lav mic on your lapel. What I would say is that, you know, if that's not an issue for you, if you're not super concerned about that, then maybe this thing will be worth it for you, because that Rode Wireless Go, I've seen it priced as high as like $219. Right now, the last I checked, again, it was back ordered, but it was on sale for $199. And if you were to buy this right now, with, you know, at its current price of basically $99, you'd be saving $100. But again, that's one of the downfalls and one of the limitations you're going to have. You know, and I will say too that I took some of the lav mic audio and tried to touch it up using parametric equalizer and fixing it, and it's just doesn't work. And even with a little denoise to try to get rid of that static, I couldn't do it. Yeah, so for the lav mic, I would say it should not be a consideration. If you want a wireless lav system like this that's going to give you decent quality lavalier sound, this probably is not going to be your best bet. Yeah, the noise gate, mentioned that. There's limited control of audio quality. Again, they're limited, but there's really no control other than volume. And monitoring is basically unusable just because it's too quiet. So if you're going to monitor any audio that you're using with this, I would say monitor from your camera and not from the receiver. Battery life is something I didn't test, but on the packaging it says that the transmitter will last you about 4 hours and the receiver lasts about 6, which is, you know, I think that's a pretty good range of time, assuming that those claims are true. And then the other thing is distance. That's another thing I did not test, but according to the box, it has a distance. You can separate them 70 meters. Like 200 feet, right? That's a lot. So if that's true, again, another consideration. Could that be worth it for you to have that long of a transmission distance? Who knows? But, you know, would I recommend if someone came to me today and said, hey, I need some kind of wireless lavalier system, something cheap within budget that's going to give me decent quality sound and results, I would probably not recommend this. In fact, at this point, because I have such limited experience with these types of systems, I don't know that I would recommend anything at this point. I have heard good things about the Rode Wireless Go. Again, I don't have it. I've never used it, so I don't know how it compares as far as sound quality. But I do know that Rode makes pretty good products, so I have to imagine that it's decent, at least. Pixel, I appreciate you guys for reaching out and sending this to me. I can't say that, I'm a huge fan of the product, but, I told you I'd talk about it, and I told you I'd be honest, so there's my honest opinion. Well, hey, if you are still here with me, please hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening, and follow me on social media once again, at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. So until next time, keep on creating, making, and doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.